Happy Tuesday, everyone. July 15th, 2025. Welcome to the NIL Master Course, which is a free course that I'm offering for parents and student athletes. I know many of you signed up for this course, but for whatever reason, I know life is lifing. You've missed a course, so I thought I would record it and send it out to everyone so you can still have this information to utilize and to help you navigate this NIL era. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through this presentation and give you guys this information. So the purpose of this is just for straight education, especially for those that have student athletes that are 2026, 2027, athletes that are going through the recruiting process. I hope this will help you navigate the process. My name again is Taqueta Braxton. I am the founder of NIL Sense. This is a organization that has been put together to give education to families and athletes because there's so much out there to help the student athletes after the recruiting process to get NIL deals. There was a lack of education going to parents and a lack of education going to students that were in the recruiting process. And so my job is to help you through that process. A little bit about my background. I am a former Division I basketball coach and recruiting coordinator. I coached college basketball for 11 years and was responsible for recruiting throughout the entire nation. I am also a former Division I athlete. I played at the University of Arkansas, and we're not going to talk about how far back that time was, but we're going to keep moving forward. I'm a certified NIL expert. I dove into this field just because of the reason that I told you, the lack of education and seeing parents and student athletes go out and make poor decisions or make decisions because they just don't know. And so it is important for us to receive, educate, and advocate for our athletes. I am also a mother of a current 2026 that is going through and navigating this process as well as you are with your athlete. Just this weekend, my son is a baseball player, but at the baseball fields, I overheard a couple parents talking about recruiting and the new revenue sharing model. And hearing them talk, they really didn't understand what was going on. And so they were questioning and asking questions amongst each other, and none of them really knew the answer. And so that also gave me um, a little kick to make sure that I get this information out. I'm also the owner of Coach Braxton Speaks, where I go out to high schools, summer organizations, or club ball teams, or universities, and I speak to them about NIL, and I also speak to athletic departments about leadership and developing leaders. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about the breakdown NIL history. But the purpose of this really is just to give you guys exposure about the issues that are currently out there with all the information that you have been hearing in the media. Clarify some of those things. We can't clarify everything for you today, but in this time to at least give you a little knowledge and help you through starting the recruiting process. And then I'm going to share with you the next step and learning how to win in this recruiting game. Number one, first thing, we're going to break down the history of NIL. We're going to explain a little bit of the House versus the NCAA settlement. And then I'm going to show you how to win in this recruiting game. So let's get started. Name, image, and likeness. We use it for short, NIL, but it actually stands for name, image, and likeness. What is it? And I'm going to break this down because we hear the terminology all the time, but what does this really mean to you as a parent and your athlete? So every single time that their name or image, a picture is used, or anything like this. We see the example I always use is a bobblehead. If you guys were watching the NCAA tournament this year, when Juju was injured, her teammates put a bobblehead on the sideline, and that is an example of likeness. It is something that looks like her. Her image on sweatshirts or t-shirts, or anytime her name is used, she can receive compensation for that. So when I was a player back at the University of Arkansas, our name, image, and likeness was used, but we did not receive compensation. We did autograph signings. We our name, our pictures, our image was put on billboards for different businesses. They would use our images to draw in more clients and more customers. You can also attend or go to a business and just be a representation there to draw in more clients or more business. And that is also a way that you could receive compensation. But we did all those things. And at that time, we didn't receive anything. There was no exchange there. It was just something that we did as a student athlete. But now, starting on July the 1st, 2021, NCAA allowed for the compensation to now happen. And so from July the 1st to 2021, there was not a whole lot of rules in place. The NCAA, but their stance is anybody, no matter what division, name, image, and likeness, NIL is for everyone. And their stance is that they put the burden of putting the rules, the policies in place on the states. So each state came up with their own policy, their own laws when it came to NIL. And then it also trickled down to the association. So when I say an association, if you're in the state of Texas, our main one is UIL. And the UIL sets their rules of what is allowed for athletes who are participating in UIL activities. So NCAA moved it forward and said, okay, we lost this court case. We're going to allow for athletes to receive compensation. It's clear for us. It's available to all athletes, regardless of what state they're in or what school they attend. We're going to put the burden on the states. The states have to come up with the rules, the regulations. The universities have to come up with their regulations, and the associations have to come up with their rules and regulations. In 22-23, the high school athlete and collectives and personal brands, they exploded. We'll go in more information about collectives and personal brands at another time. But this was the era where things just really just took off. In May 2024, House versus the NCAA settlement was announced. And then just recently, I think it was in June, it was passed, which moved revenue sharing into the forefront. And on July the 1st, 2025, the first athlete received compensation through direct payment from a university through the revenue share model. So it went live on July the 1st, 2025. On June 30th, schools had the option to opt in this revenue sharing model or opt out. Those schools that are those that are Power Five conferences, they didn't have a choice. So your Big 12s, your SECs, those Power Fives, they don't have a choice. They are automatically in the revenue share model, but those that are not in those Power Fives, they have the option to opt in or opt out. You say, why would they opt in or out? One reason they would opt in is because they want to be more competitive when it comes to recruiting. If one athlete is being recruited by a Power Five and you are not, so you can actually be competitive and get a chance to bring that athlete on campus and get a true chance of getting them, then you want to be able to share that revenue with them. Um, so you want to opt in. So that is a reason why a school would maybe want to opt in. So here's what you're seeing in the news. You're seeing a lot of things. At the top left, you see the National Clearinghouse ran by Deloitte. He's now the clearinghouse is now in place to regulate these deals and really look at them. Anything over $600, any deal between a business, a third party, and an athlete, they're going to go through and look at it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it is structured properly and that really what is being paid to that athlete and what is required for them to do really fits the compensation. So that is what Deloitte and his team will be doing. And this takes away from what we call, you hear people when they talk about the NIL, they talk about the Wild West, that people are just doing all kind of things. So having this structure, this clearinghouse in place ran by Deloitte will take that away. So to put a governing body over these deals that are being as contracts that are being signed. And then you've heard about the NCAA roster caps, the squeeze on high school recruits under the NIL settlement. This is real. This is real information. Also, the House versus the NCAA settlement, the $2.8 billion agreement for those athletes that formerly played collegiate at Power Fives, that this money will be paid out over a period of time. And then when it came to the roster cap, colleges are able to pay $20.5 million in revenue share. They can share with their athletes, and each school can divide that up as they see fit. So this is just some of the things that you've seen in the news. You've also already seen a lot of since July 1st, you've seen some of some of the revenue sharing deals that have already been put in place. Here, I put this on here because I thought this was really big, that over 5,000 athletes have already been cut. And we'll go over that with you. I'll show you what I mean by that when it comes to the roster spots. So college recruiting, one, we're going to go through. An offer doesn't mean a scholarship. When I was a recruiting coordinator, as a girls basketball coach, girls received a full ride. That's what we called it, a full ride. So when we offered them the scholarship, they knew everything was covered, room, board, tuition, everything. The only thing the parent would have to come out of pocket for are just those basic things that they wanted to for clothes for their kids, spending money, decorations for their room. But the basics, the main things for college was completely paid for. Two, we're going to go over roster spots. We just talked about the roster spots and them running out. We're going to talk about that. We'll go in a little bit about those athletes being grandfathered in and what that means. And then we're going to talk about the risk of losing eligibility, which is a major piece to this as we're going through this NIL information. One wrong move can cause your child to be disqualified, and we do not want that at all. So an offer does not mean a scholarship. Most sports now, well, before, a lot of sports would use the equivalency rule. I can't say that today for some reason. But now we are all on equivalency scholarships. What does that mean? That means that there's a certain amount of money that's in place for that particular sport. Let's use girls basketball. So girls basketball might have a total, a pot of money that really will only pay for 10 full scholarships. So now to get the total number of 15, you have to break that down. So someone might only get room and board, where someone else might only get tuition. Well, that money is broken down. And so now you have to find out how much are you going to pay. So it doesn't mean that everything is paid for when they give you an offer. With revenue sharing here, every roster spot has a dollar value. So you need to know how much. So if they offer you and you in that discussion, how much or am I really and truly getting paid in when I sign this contract? And so it's not going to be a bad thing these days to ask those questions. You don't want to come into the conversation asking, how much money you paying me? You want to develop a relationship with that coach, but before you sign that national letter of intent, whatever the contract, you need to discuss the dollars and make sure you understand what is being exchanged there and what is required of you for that exchange. Every school decides differently. So you need to ask, how much am I actually receiving? So what the University of Arkansas might be giving might be different than the University of Alabama. So that's where those conversations are important. Roster spots are running out. The NCAA has officially implemented roster size limits across every single sport. And I have here some examples. And I'll give you a little example with Texas A&M. I just read about well, actually it was the beginning of June, wasn't just read. I read it in June that they decided, Texas A&M made the decision that every single one of their sports, they're going to pay for every single athlete to have everything paid for. Okay. But if we look at roster spots in last year's roster for Texas A&M football was 145 players, give or take, based on what I read. 145 players. Well, the maximum number now for football is 105. This includes walk-ons. This includes every single person that has a spot on the team. So in that situation, this scenario, where does those extra 40 players go? Well, when I showed you the article where we had 5,000 players or athletes that are out of a position and out of spots, they don't have a place to go. Those 40 are in that 5,000. So that's why the judge really fought for those athletes that were losing a spot. Now, those are the ones that were on roster. That's not including those kids that it's signed. So athletes that are already in college are signed in the class of 2025, they were also out of a spot. So they grandfathered them in, and they are considered designated athletes. So they do not count towards a roster spot, but they have to be designated that and labeled that. So for their full collegiate career, they are considered designated athletes. The fewer the spots are available, the more competitive it becomes in the recruiting process. My son right now is going through that as a 2026. The spots are closing up fast. That being said, a student athlete that is probably a Power 5 that that currently can't find a spot at a Power 5, they now move down to a lower level. So they might go to just they might go mid-major, and mid-majors are going down to lower majors, and lower majors are going down to Division II, and Division II, Division III, or NAIA. So it is those spots are closing fast. So it's very important for you to start the recruiting process as early as possible, to give yourself a fighting chance in this recruiting game. Don't risk your eligibility. And this is for my high school kids right now, especially in the state of Texas. And here I'm talking to you because just recently, Governor Abbott signed a bill that said that if you're 17 years old and a high school athlete, you can sign an NIL deal. 17, a senior high school athlete, you can sign an NIL deal. If you run out right now and go sign a deal, then you will be considered ineligible, because there were some loopholes to that. There were some criteria to that. One is that you cannot receive compensation for that deal until you are enrolled in school. You started at a university. So you have to go down and you have to read a lot of read everything. Make sure you just don't read that you can sign. You have to read all the information. And then you must remember, you also have to look at the association, because for UIL says you cannot do any NIL deals while you are doing any type of UIL activities. So it is important that you understand, as a high school athlete, your state may allow an NIL deal, but your high school district or athletic association might have stricter rules. So know the rules of all of those, so you're not putting yourself in a place to lose eligibility. Before signing with an NIL agent, there are a lot of people that are running out. They're quickly signing with an agent with the mindset of they can negotiate and find me the money. Pitch for me, find me an NIL deal so I can make some money. Before signing, you need to check and make sure they're registered in your state, and they're approved through the schools and association. Be very, very it's very important that you do your research. Do your research so you're not violating any rules. Okay. And then colleges are requiring all NIL deals to be disclosed if they're $600 or more, and they're tracking that. And remember, we talked about the Deloitte system. Know your options. So make sure you are looking. We talked about how competitive things are. Do not just focus on the 363 Division I schools. They do offer full and partial scholarships. Remember, we talked about the equivalency right now. It's not all one full scholarship. You can receive a full or partial, but you can get NIL deals as well. Division II, they offer partial scholarships, NIL deals there as well. So with a Division I player that's at a Power 5, you can get your scholarship. You can get your scholarship money, which is your revenue share. And you can also get NIL and collectives. We need to discuss collectives as well. And all those are ways to receive compensation. Division III, there are no scholarships. It's only academic aid, but you can participate in NIL. NAIA, they're flexible packages. You can receive athletic money. You can also receive academic aid as well, and you can participate in NIL. And then you have 500 junior colleges, JUCOs, Division I and Division II, which also you have to know the JUCO NJCAA rules and the rules of the school and the state, and participate in NIL. So what next? What happens if you do nothing? Your athlete is relying on old recruiting advice, in a new NIL world. So what I went through as a recruit, if I didn't have the education, I would be giving my son old information as a recruiting coordinator, what I used then, or when I was being recruited. That is out the window. That advice is old school now. You also may have key questions on your visit that you are not asking, and you might lose spots or lose income or just not have the right information. I'll give you an example of an important question that you need to ask. Right now, a lot of athletes are going in the portal and they're transferring for whatever reason. Well, if you get some revenue sharing income or revenue sharing contract, what happens if you transfer? What happens if you become academically ineligible? What happens if you have some type of disciplinary issue? These are some questions that you need to ask and make sure you're clear on before you sign your contract. And you're playing catch up with schools who already understand the game. They have attorneys that are advocating for them on their side. They're reviewing their contracts. They're reviewing how much they're given. Who is advocating for your son or daughter? You can't afford to wait. This game is changing. Make sure you're in the know so you can get the best academic package, athletic package for your son, your daughter. So get in the recruiting game with NIL Sense. Here's what I'm offering. For today only, I'm offering a package at a discounted price. It's normally $229. For $149, you can get 2 live Zooms with me. And we're going to go in detail about the House versus the NCAA settlement, caps, roster caps, and a scholarship strategy. We're going to understand the Austin money and collectives. We talked about that, some extra income. We're going to give you 25 questions to ask in the recruiting process, contract language, and red flags that you need to look out for before signing anything. We're going to talk about school rules versus the state law in whatever school or whatever area that you're in. We're going to go over the NIL readiness checklist, the recruiting calendar, and the class year timeline. And your big bonus, you'll be able to receive the recordings for both of those sessions. If you're busy, you can't attend, but you'll be able to receive those sessions for 14 days, replay access. Normally $229. You can get this course for $149 by scanning this QR code. If you need a little more, if you need more of a one-on-one strategy call with me, you have questions and you need some more detail with helping your son or daughter through this recruiting process, we can help you there as well. You get a custom recruiting roadmap. We're going to still talk about the roster caps and scholarship strategy with your son or daughter. And then we're going to ask those questions. We're going to go through questions that you really need to be reviewing for your athlete school year. We're going to do that NIL readiness checklist together. And you get a athlete prep template from me. This is an add-on for $80. By scanning the QR code, you can do one or the other. Now, if you put in the code July 14th, you're going to receive the discounted price. July the 14th, you'll receive the discounted price. This is perfect for parents who have no idea what to ask on a visit. They need help with evaluating where they stand in the recruiting process, or they're just starting the recruiting process. They don't know where to go from here. I know my athlete is a recruitable athlete. I know my athlete has the skill level to play above high school, but where do I start? And this is also for a parent who just don't want to navigate this NIL process alone. You just need someone there with you. So you can get the course plus the one-on-one strategy call for $229 by entering July the 14th as your code. So, free bonus tonight or today for watching this recorded Zoom, or even for those that were live last night, you're able to get 10 recruiting questions that every parent needs to ask in this recruiting process. By scanning this QR code, answering a couple questions, you will receive this PDF recruiting questions for you and your athlete. You also get access to enrolling in the course at a discounted price. Again, by using the code JULY, JULY14, you'll get the discounted price. And this is going to be a limited time. So it was only for last night, but because many people missed the course, I'm going to offer this until Friday. So please, please take the time to scan the QR code here so you can get the discounted price, or you can get two, whether you want the one-on-one strategy call, or if you just want the 2 days detailed course live with me to learn more about this NIL world and need help navigating through it. Scan, use the code JULY, JULY14, and you receive the discounted price of $114. Scan the QR code here and get your free questions that you can ask on any recruiting visit or throughout this recruiting process. Thank you so much for joining. If you have questions, please email me at Taqueta@CoachBraxtonSpeaks. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Most importantly, I look forward to seeing you in class.